All right, I'm here with Dr. Marisol from Queen of the Thrones. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited that you're coming to chat.
Oh, Danielle, thank you for saying my name so beautifully. And I love that. And it's wonderful. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to share with your people everything that I can.
Yeah, awesome. So I would love to hear just how you fell into this role of being the castor oil queen, how you know so much about it, getting into naturopathic medicine. Tell us your story.
Awesome. Well, I grew up in a family that wasn't well educated about their health, being immigrants to North America. And what ended up happening was that in my youth, my teens and my 20s, I was actually quite sick. I was, riddled with IBS symptoms, anxiety that I could not control. And of course, by the time that I was like working in the natural health industry, I was diagnosed with PCOS. And I didn't know what was the cause of all these things. I couldn't put it together. But I was being told by a lot of people to do this wonderful little thing called the Castor Oil Pack. And the thing was that for me, the type of person that I am, and I know so many of your listeners are going to be like this, is that I need it to be easy for me to do it, right? And I need it to be proven and not sound too woo-woo. And truly, when I first heard about the castor oil packs, I'm like, okay, number one, that does not sound like it's scientific based because here you are recommended to take a organic piece of cotton flannel, pour this oil on it, and then place it on your liver, right? How odd, how weird compared to like our conventional thought of like just taking a pill and you're all better. So I just thought it was just too strange. And there was also just too many steps to do with this castor oil pack. So I just, disregarded it no matter how many times people would tell me. And truly, like I heard about castor oil packs for over a decade. And I was told by multiple doctors, multiple practitioners, multiple health food store owners to do these packs to help with my IBS and my PCOS. But I just, it just never connected. And then I remember being at a pivotal point, deciding to go back to school to become a naturopathic doctor to help see if I could fix myself because I really wasn't happy with this PCOS diagnosis. I had also been diagnosed by that time now with like fatty liver, and I wasn't even a drinker. And so I didn't understand like why were all these things happening to me. So I figured, no one can find the answer. I'm going to go back to school and I'll be able to find my answer for me because I didn't want to take any drugs. I didn't want to do metformin. I wasn't into that stuff, right? I'd already been on birth control and I thought that was probably one of the reasons why I wasn't doing so well with my hormones, right? Of course. And then sure enough, I go to school to try to find the answer. And in school, I get sicker than ever because here I am now, more stress already added to a big pile of stress that was my life. And naturopathic college was unfortunately in, at the time, a moldy building. So just contributing to, overgrowth of yeast in my body, my blood sugar regulation that I had no idea was a problem. Although I should have had a clue because my parents were both diabetic, but I figured, it's not going to affect me. And I really didn't know that PCOS or fatty liver at the time was actually a blood sugar problem. So I just kept along my merry way until that third year, my final year of school, when I'm now starting in with patients. And I actually have to take the year off because I'm so sick. I can't even get out of bed. I'm, basically completely malnourished at this point because food is literally just coming through me. I can't sleep a decent night's sleep because my blood sugar is just out of whack. And so I'm feeling more and more anxious constantly, right? My anxiety just kept on building and building and building. And I completely crashed, right? Like my body just couldn't do it anymore. And it was then that I was, looking at my life and really disappointed because I was in naturopathic school. I was seeing naturopathic doctors. I was doing everything right. I was eating the right foods. I was taking the right supplements, doing the right exercises. Everything looked like it, kind of picture perfect, but something was missing. And what I realized was that, my liver wasn't being supported properly. And my anxiety was just like running my world. Like I needed to like figure out a way to like really, reduce my body's ability to just overreact and react in such a way that it would be constantly spiking my cortisol, my stress hormone, which just kept me in this loop of feeling horrible. Right. And so I finally, kind of was like in the record of my mind, thinking back to like like what did people told me? Like, what were the things? And, castor oil packs kept on popping up, popping up, popping up. And I'm like, I've like, I may as well, like, there's nothing else I can really do. I'm doing IVs, I'm doing colonics, I'm doing enemas, I'm doing everything. And then, finally, because the reality was, my digestion was so disturbed that even though I was doing everything, I wasn't absorbing any of it, right? Like I was taking all these supplements and nothing was absorbing. So I was taking liver support, I was taking magnesium, I was taking blood sugar, I was taking everything, but none of it was actually absorbing. So finally, I sewed up a little pack. I put it on my body, and literally that first pack that I did, like my entire world changed that day, because it felt like, like the sky opened up and the angels began to sing the minute I put the pack on my body. I literally felt like a sincere calm and a deepness of, like, I'm good, I'm okay. This is not the end of the world. Where before that, everything just felt like I was just, even doing things like hopelessly, because I just kept on getting worse and I wasn't getting better. And that night I had like one of the deepest sleeps I'd ever had. I had dreams again, which was something that I hadn't experienced in a while. I wasn't waking up to urinate in the middle of the night. It was, or go to the bathroom. It was just such a beautiful night's rest. And to tell you the truth, for that first month, being home ridden, because I couldn't go to school, couldn't go into clinical practice, I actually wore the pack pretty much like almost all day long.
All the time.
And just kept on adding more oil and putting it back on my body, because it honestly made me feel so good. But what I realized looking back was that what I was doing was that I was really doing a lot of work in healing my gut, retraining my nervous system so it wouldn't run into the stressed, the fight or flight stage at every single moment, so that I was constantly on like a cortisol and a sugar high, which was all that I understood and knew in my body. And that I was, little by little learning what calm felt like, and how to feel good in that calm too. Because, here's the other thing, is that I'd spent a lifetime, like over 32 years, truly in a stressed state. So that was what my normal was. So high cortisol, high sugar high was what I thought felt good. So everything I was doing was basically just to boost my sugar and keep me in that same, like, not merry-go-round, because it's not that pleasant. It was like the rat
A roller
race.
coaster.
Yeah, roller coaster.
Because it would inevitably come down, right?
Yeah. And then so I'd constantly, and I remember myself, like in those days, like I would be chomping on candy, like Werther's originals. I'd be like, to the point that I actually like cracked so many of my teeth, and had to get replaced and implants. Yeah, because since my early teens, I was doing that. I had that habit. And little did I know, I thought it was just like a bad addiction, but it was, because I was addicted to the sugar, because it was what was keeping my sugar high and balanced in the norm that I thought was normal. So I had to retrain my body, retrain my gut, help my liver do better. And, sure enough, like after a year of really working my blood sugar, working with the castor oil packs religiously, I had a fatty liver diagnosis reverse. I had my PCOS diagnosis reverse. Now, this isn't replicable in every single person. So it's not that I could say that the castor oil packs will do this for every single person, because I was also part of an entire protocol, right? It needs to be not just the castor oil pack. It's the castor oil pack as a foundation, like good food and good supplements, but it's one of the pieces of the puzzle. So
Yeah.
I was committed. I was dedicated, because I was tired of living that way. And also because, well, I had a little bit of social pressure being a naturopathic doctor about to graduate. I needed to walk the walk and talk the talk. And truly, I had never felt better in my life when I started doing the castor oil packs. And so it just became such a platform. And truly, I was looking back yesterday in the testimonials of our company, and we have so many testimonials that say game changer. And I think it's just a perfect word when it comes to castor oil packs, because for me, it was the game changer that, all the wonderful things that I was doing, those wonderful supplements, wonderful probiotics, wonderful digestive enzymes, wonderful everything, all ended up working better once I put the castor oil pack into the protocol. And that changed my life around. And literally, I was back in practice in 3 months, which is great, because I thought it would be a whole year. So I was actually back in practice in 3 months. And then I started prescribing castor oil packs to everybody. And just like me, nobody would do them because there was no easy way to do it. And so I decided at that point, not yet even graduated as a naturopathic doctor back then, I launched my first Castor Oil Pack company, and I brought it to market. And sure enough, it sold like hotcakes. And then a couple of things happened with my partner at the time. That company stopped. And then years later in my practice, I brought this back to the world, and the Queen of the Thrones evolved from there. And so literally I've spent the past 20 years focused on understanding the ins and outs and mechanisms of castor oil packs in hormonal problems, metabolic syndrome, which is basically the pre-diabetic, or where cases like me, like you, had blood sugar dysregulation, PCOS. I love that saying, the diabetes of the ovaries. I love that saying, because so many people think that it's just hormonal, but it is, but it's also hormonal. There's even underlying aspects of autoimmunity in PCOS, like where the body's self-attacking itself. So there's so many aspects to these conditions. And I'm so happy that Castor Oil Packs is one of those tools that could put it all together. And I'm so grateful because I get to work in the magic of our medicine.
I love that. I love hearing your story. There's definitely some similar threads with what we were struggling with, for sure. And I bet I'm going to ask the question that I feel like everyone might be thinking, okay, what the heck is a castor oil pack? How is something like an oil on your liver, maybe like, okay, Dr. Marisol, how is this happening? Like, walk us through this, walk us through the science of it, because you said it's not too woo-woo. So I can't wait for you to unpack this. Pun intended.
So we'll start with castor oil, because castor, I think, is the first most approachable aspect of this castor oil pack. So castor oil is a wonderful vegetarian vegan oil. So for those of you vegetarian vegan, it's super good for you.
Not a lot on this podcast, but that's okay.
There you go. But I definitely see, I'm a big paleo girl, so that's perfect. So that works good for me. My book actually is all paleo diet and that's indeed a dysbiotic type diet. So perfect. But basically it's an oil that is good for everybody. So no matter what type of diet that you're choosing to work with. And it is native to the Mediterranean basin. So in Egypt, Greece, Mediterranean, Spain, of course, Africa, India is a major producer of castor oil. What's really, really interesting is it's a real ancient oil. The Egyptians were using castor oil and castor oil packs, as well as the Greek. In fact, Hippocrates, Galen, all those ancient doctors loved castor oil, as did the traditional Chinese medicine doctors and practitioners, and the Ayurvedic practitioners in India. So it's been a staple of medicine like before Christ. So that's how far back castor oil, like we can find castor oil in tombs of the Egyptians, imagine. So, this isn't a new medicine. This is a medicine that has lasted over time and has been tested and trialed over time, and it's continued in our traditions of medicines. And that's why I think it's so wonderful. But this oil is such a unique oil compared to any other oil. It actually contains omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-9s, but it's not actually a digestible oil. Like when you take it, it's not meant to be nutritive orally. It's actually meant just as a purgative. So if you take it orally, all it's going to do is just make you have really quick, really fast, strong, hard, cramping bowel movements. So it's a super laxative. Yeah. And it's painful done orally. Yeah. Especially if it goes too high in a dose. So I don't ever or often recommend it orally in certain cases. But the FDA, as well as Health Canada, they approve it for oral usage, and pharmacists will often recommend it as a laxative in severe cases of constipation. So it's quite interesting. But what's really cool about castor oil is that it promotes a lot of different super antioxidants in our bodies. So number one, it's an excellent natural anti-inflammatory, and it does that via prostaglandins, which are the same result that you get from taking like an omega-3. You get prostaglandins that reduce inflammation in your body, and these prostaglandins actually help move smooth muscle of your uterus and of your large intestine and small intestine. So it helps you go to the bathroom better. And for those who are pregnant, you can't use castor oil or castor oil packs, except if you're working with your practitioner conditioner to induce your pregnancy, because it can be strong, that it moves those smooth muscles and can move the baby out. So that's why you don't do it. You don't do a castor oil pack during pregnancy. But beyond that, castor oil actually supports nitric oxide production. And nitric oxide is a natural anti-candida. I don't know if people know this. So it helps to reduce candida, but nitric oxide also supports biofilm breakdown in the gut, which I just love, because so many of us have these microbiomes in our gut that need support. Beyond that, also glutathione promotion. A glutathione master detoxification agent, super important for liver health. So castor oil is also a natural antihistamine. So, you know, and I can go on more and more and more. It contains quercetin, nutritive, high levels of vitamin E in the oil. And all of this can be taken and absorbed through the skin. Because unlike other oils, castor oils, like if you look at its consistency, if you've ever felt castor oil, it's really, really thick compared to other oils. And this is actually what makes its molecular weight and its molecular action be able to move, unlike other oils, through the top layers of skin, deep into the dermis where you have your circulation and your lymphatic system. So that means it can spread to other aspects of the body and be absorbed differently from other oils. Other oils, when you put them topically on your body, they're just a really good skin moisturizer. Castor oil absorbs as well as brings things into the body. So quality is very important with castor oil. You really have to be careful, because if you're buying castor oil that's in a plastic bottle, castor oil carries things in, and it's going to grab onto those plastics and it's going to bring that into your body. And then it kind of defeats the purpose of even doing anything with castor oil or a castor oil pack. So quality is key. What people are looking for is in a glass bottle, ideally dark. You're looking for it to be hexane free, so no chemicals, as well as being cold pressed, extra virgin, just like you like your olive oil, right? That's what I always say. Nice and easy to remember. And of course, organic and pure. So those are the must-haves. And you'll know a high quality castor oil, because high quality castor oil is light golden yellow, as well as will have very little smell, where if it has a very, very strong smell, it's probably not a good quality oil, probably processed with something. And we have to be careful, because we're going on trust when we're purchasing products sometimes. So please be careful, and please check the labels, and please inquire with the company that you're buying it from, just to make sure, because sometimes things aren't labeled and we want to always get the highest quality. So that's why, you know, that was a thing for me too, also to bring castor oil to the marketplace, because I was having problems trusting the castor oil on the marketplace, and I literally like pretty much bathe in the stuff. Like it's on my eyes to go to bed at night. Like I wear a castor oil eye compress to sleep, to boost my natural melatonin and help to support my, you know, hypothalamus, my pituitary regulation of my hormones, especially as I'm aging, because I'm moving into the age of, you know, perimenopause. I'm putting it on my liver every night. I bathe with it. I mean, I use it after sunburns, mosquito bites. Like it's in my life. So I need to definitely have a high quality for myself. So that's a big reason why I brought it to market, because I was like selfishly wanting it for me.
Totally.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing all that information about the quality. And obviously your company sells this excellent quality. And I love that when people are really picky, it's like, I know I can trust them to have a really good quality, because they're walking the talk, and it's like hashtag pours castor oil all over entire life. Like, yeah, it's like, did you ever see My Big Fat Greek Wedding? How he puts Windex on everything? It's like, just put some castor oil on it, right?
Oh, I love that you said that. I use that analogy all the time, because that's pretty much it. Like if you look right now, my hair is
needs to be a meme.
Yeah, because I was, you know, wearing my eye mask, and then it just kind of a little bit of the oil in my hair. But, you know, my hair is like, it's great. Like it's thicker than it's ever been in my lifetime, compared to like my early diagnosis of PCOS, when I felt it was all thinning and I was losing it. And it's just such a wonderful, wonderful oil. And that's another benefit of the oil, is that it's great for hair growth. So that
Okay.
is just oil. Yeah.
Let's dive into the different areas and talk about, you started to mention sleep. We mentioned the liver, we mentioned gut, we obviously blood sugar. So let's start. Where do you want to start? Should we go like head to toe?
Yeah, well, let's go first with the pack and then go head to toe. Why people need a pack. The next question.
Let's do it.
Because I just said how great castor oil is. And then everyone always comes to me and asks, okay, so then why do I need the pack? Why don't I just like use the castor oil? And I go, you could, but really all you're going to get is just the anti-inflammatory effect. You're going to get, yeah, the nitric oxide, which is awesome. Definitely glutathione, awesome too. Nutritive too. But let's face it, you can get that from a lot of different things and not have to put messy castor oil on your skin. Truly, if you think about it, right? There's natural, there's anti-inflammatories all over the place. You can find there are a dime a dozen nitric oxide producing as well too. But the key is when you mix the castor oil with an organic cotton flannel. This is the magic, because what we're doing here is we're combining oil, so beautiful oil fat, which is like golden for healing in every which way, but then the compression in medicine. Compression in medicine is super powerful because you're triggering a lot of different reflexes in the body, natural reflexes, as well as lymphatic drainage. So when you actually pour the castor oil, like you pour about 2 tablespoons onto the castor oil pack, and then you place it on your liver with that action, what ends up occurring is that your number one, the oil and the touch of the nice cotton flannel on the skin, the oil promotes dopamine, because no different than if you eat a fat in your mouth, you light up the areas of your brain that are dopamine receiving, and it's why you feel good or more satisfied when you eat like a paleo meal, right? Which is high protein with a little bit more fat, or even if you're working more on a ketogenic type diet, right? You feel better. And that's the dopamine effect of the fat. But you get that same effect with doing a castor oil pack because of the sensation of castor oil on your skin. Number one. Number two, the softness of the material triggers the receptors in your skin, that feedback mechanism to the vagus nerve, moving and shifting your body from the stress state into the relaxed state. And it does this by supporting the hormone oxytocin, your love and connection molecule. Why I love oxytocin so much is because people with blood sugar problems have a true deficiency of oxytocin, because oxytocin is what balances out cortisol. So if you have high cortisol, you got low oxytocin. But then when you have elevated oxytocin, your cortisol decreases. And it's one of the best ways to help balance out the blood sugar cycle is by promoting oxytocin, which is, why for me, castor oil pack supported my anxiety improving. It gave me anxiety relief. It supported my liver, the cysts on my liver and the fatty liver that I was getting, which is truly just a response to blood sugar dysregulation, all resolving with doing castor oil packs because of that vagus nerve activation and that oxytocin promotion, which is amazing. And there's more. Like, this is the thing with the pack. This is why you don't want to skip the pack. It's the most important part. And we're talking pack for everywhere. Wherever you're putting castor oil, you want to use a pack with it, whether you're doing on your liver, whether you're doing on your eyes for beauty care, or also to promote melatonin naturally, or whether you're doing it on your hair, you want to use a pack. And because it's not only those mechanisms, you also have two more. There's reflex mechanisms depending on where you put your pack. So if you're doing a liver pack, you're targeting the internal organs. Same if you do an eye compress, you're also targeting the internal organs of the liver, the intestine, the stomach. You're stimulating those organs to enhance their activity when you're doing the pack, which is great because most of the time, if we're running in the stress zone, our digestive organs are on hiatus. They're not working. Same as our fertility organs, right? Because if you're running away from a tiger, your body's not going to want to get pregnant, right? It's just not. You're running away from the threat, and pregnancy is probably the last thing on your or on your body's mind. And there's that aspect. But then the really cool aspect is lymphatic drainage, and that is actually a mechanical pumping that happens by wearing a castor oil pack. When you actually have pressure of the pack on your skin, and when it's placed actually here underneath your rib cage, when you breathe and you're sleeping at night, which is the best time to wear the castor oil pack, the breathing function actually, and with the compression on top of the breathing, actually starts to gently pump your lymphatic system. And there's so much lymphatic nodes that are within, the liver, all around the digestive organs. And so the actual physically wearing of a castor oil pack naturally helps to pump your lymphatic system overnight while you sleep. So it's just a beautiful tool and easy to do now because there's tools like the Queen of the Thrones castor oil pack that makes it just simple to do. It's like pour oil and place and go to sleep, ideally overnight, and you're good to go.
That's
Cool.
amazing. So
Yeah.
what is it doing for the liver? So is it like pulling toxins out? What it besides like that increase in glutathione, which is our master antioxidant, and it has those detoxifying properties. But can you tell us more specifically about the benefits for the liver?
Yeah, I think that a huge aspect of it is that, our bodies work on these cycles according to traditional Chinese medicine and even chronobiology, which is the study of timing of our bodies. Like your microbiome is more active while you sleep, as are your detoxification functions, like your liver is active while you sleep, as is your lymphatic system, and then your colon. And it's one of the reasons why, the best time to do castor oil packs, especially if you're working on maintenance and regularity, is to do them while you sleep overnight. In the acute, like I was doing them all the time because I was just in such a bad state. Like I really needed like hardcore like effort, right? So I needed to really put in good effort to get out what I wanted to get out, was to get better as fast as I could, right? But if you're only doing the pack every once in a while, overnight is the best time to do it, because then you're going to optimize all your functions. So when you shift your body into the relaxed state at night and you're wearing the castor oil pack over the liver, the hour of the gallbladder is between 11 and 1 a.m. And the actual stimulation of liver detox is actually the gallbladder letting go between those hours. So when the gallbladder dumps, right? And this is typically on fasting. And this is why fat is such an important thing in our diet, healthy fat, because whenever the gallbladder releases, that stimulates peristalsis. It's actually like the gun at the race that goes poof, and the race begins. That's exactly what the
Interesting.
gallbladder. Yeah, that's what the gallbladder dumping is that it suddenly starts off the process. So then the liver is like, okay, the gallbladder dumped. So now I've got space and time to be able to do things. But so many women, have problems actually with their gallbladder, and their gallbladder is congested and not eliminating at all. And so they'll have gallbladder attacks, and then they're restricted on being able to eat fats. And then that just puts them into a deeper hole, because then
Yeah.
then it's really, really hard for them to heal. Right. And so castor oil packs are great for women who especially are having like gallbladder attacks or gallbladder problems, or even if they've had their gallbladder removed, it can actually help them with that process, like the bypass that the surgery has done. So that's a really cool thing about it with the castor oil pack. But that in the evening hour, that gallbladder stimulating the liver detoxification. The liver can, like any system, can only deal with so much. And if you are backed up in your lymphatic system, in your gallbladder, in your colon, so everything is backing up, your liver is being recycled all of the hormones, all the cholesterol, all of the byproducts of the bacteria that's trying to, turn over because you're taking probiotics, right? And that's all. And so the body is, trying to clean it up. But at one point, the liver just gets overwhelmed, and all it does is it creates inflammation, because inflammation and high estrogen are tools our body uses, as with high cholesterol also, to burn off toxicity in our system. So they're purposeful in our body. So when we start to see high inflammation, high estrogen, it's a sign that our toxicity and our ability to eliminate out isn't working. And, high estrogen, high sugar, like all these things just come all together. Low thyroid, they're all packaged in the same package, right? Like it's all hypothalamic pituitary dysfunction, right? Just not allowing the system to work properly. So that's why classically people often will wake up, if they have a clogged liver, between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m. And they'll wake up like clockwork. Those with sugar problems often wake up at that time. They might wake up hungry, right? But they're not really hungry. It's just that their blood sugar is dropping because their body's trying to process things out, and their liver is trying to gain function, but it can't. It's too inflamed. So it's like trying to get it to do its job when it's in a burning fire. There's no way. There's no way. So the castor oil immediately will reduce inflammation topically, then it'll shift the body into the relaxed state so that the liver can actually, because the liver naturally will be optimized, its liver and detox functions will be optimized in that relaxed state. And then on top of it, you get the glutathione, and then you get the nitric oxide, and you get the vitamin E, recycling more glutathione. So it's like all these little intricate mechanisms work to support the liver health. And that's why it's such a beautiful tool. And that same action happens wherever you put the castor oil pack. So whether you're putting it on the ovaries for your cysts, right? Because you have PCOS, which you can do. Now, if you're going to be putting it on the liver and then you're putting it on the ovaries, there's really great timing that you can do. The liver pack is best done from your bleeding to ovulation, because with high estrogen, you have high inflammation. So then all the inflammation is going to be around the liver. But then after ovulation, your body flow is shifting towards the pelvic region. And so now the inflammation is guess where? In the ovaries. Right? From ovulation to bleed. So then you can move your pack we have separate packs because we prefer to, just in case, because we're not sure, because toxins are also moved when you do a castor oil pack, and they move within the oil. So some people, it may be coming out through their skin. And if that is the case, you might not necessarily want to use the same pack that you used on the liver over your gentle ovaries or your uterus, especially if you're like trying to get pregnant, or, you want to make sure that area is super, super hygienated or clean, right? So you could use a different pack, but then you put the pack on the ovaries during that time, because that's where all the focus of the blood is. And that's why, people get like, when they let down the egg, it's like they get that little cramp. Mitchell smirts is called, right? The little cramping that they get, or they'll, everything kind of feels like they're holding or retaining more lower below the belt, kind of, as they wait for their period to come. If that's the reason, because all the energetics and the flow are within that area. So it's really, really fascinating that, the castor oil pack will reduce the inflammation. It'll support the function. It'll calm the body down so that the healing is focused on that area. And then it's the same thing with the thyroid, right? Because the thyroid commonly will get nodules in any of these blood sugar issues, right? The thyroid will get nodules, the liver will get cysts, the ovaries will get cysts. It's super, super common. And so liver, ovaries, thyroid, and then for hair loss, same deal. You put the pack on your hair as well too. So we actually have a literal wrap for people's hair, which works super effectively. Cool, eh?
Wow, that's
It's
so
amazing.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, such an amazing tool. And we even have cancer doctors who are recommending castor oil packs on hands and feet for nerve loss and nerve pain, right? Because in cancer treatment, chemotherapy, they get with some of the drugs, they lose their sensation in their nerves. Something that similarly happens with diabetic patients is that they lose their sensation and their ability to feel at the ends of their nerves, right? Because of the blood sugar damage. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the treatment possibilities with castor oil is, again, like Windex. You can put it on everything. I love that. And
yes.
it is just such a tool that I think every single human being should have it in their pharmacy cabinet, and working with it, and starting with working with the castor oil pack. If they're going to start with something, start with the castor oil pack on their liver, and start with the castor oil eye compress on their eyes, and get that good night's sleep. Because
can you talk about how you mentioned it a few times, but because it takes me some time to, take it on. I'm literally over here taking notes on everything you're saying, by the way. So you talked about how for sleep, we should be wearing the castor oil pack at night over our liver, which, by the way, for those who don't know, is on our right side under our right rib cage. Some people have asked me that. They're like, I know this is a silly question, but where's your liver? We don't know this. You can't see it, so it's okay. It's on the right side, and heart's on the left, liver's on the right, just a few things. And
I say cross your heart, because everyone knows where their heart is, to your liver. So if you cross your heart to your liver, you can find it, right? Because you
just drag it right down. Yeah.
The other analogy, if people are biblical and they understand, they know from the Bible, is that where Jesus was speared by the Romans is the side of the liver on the right side. Yeah, they did that on purpose, because the liver is the
lifeblood.
It's lifeblood. It's where the soul is, right? And that's another reason with the eye mask. That brings me to the eye mask, because
yes,
the liver is like in traditional Chinese medicine and other medicine formats, you can see the liver through the eyes. So the eyes are the window into the liver, and we've all heard the saying, like the eyes are the window into the soul. So true, right? It is so true. Like, and that dates back to like classical traditional Chinese medicine, where they look at the eye health. If you look at the eyes, and if people are having problems with things like, say, allergic conjunctivitis, as an example, right? That's the eyes not doing well. Or my mother, who with her diabetes used to always have watering eyes, and she'd always have excretion in the center, in the corners of her eyes. That's a sign of blood sugar issue and stagnation in your liver, right? So the power, so the reason why we do the castor oil pack with the eye mask is that well, again, the window into the liver. So if we're working on the liver in the lower half of our body, on the eyes, see, this upper part of our body takes control of the hypothalamic pituitary axis. So that's a big fancy word for the commander of your hormones, right? The pituitary gland that's going to start off all the hormone threads that begin at the top of the brain, that go down and flow into the body, and then signal things like blood sugar and cortisol and estrogen and progesterone and all those at the right time. So when you wear an eye mask to go into bed, or a compress on your eyes, with castor oil, you do it the same way. You simply just pour castor oil onto the compress, and then you blot it, same way you do with castor oil pack, and you place it on your eyes like such, and you go to bed, right? What ends up happening is the reflex zones around the eyes are underneath the eyes are the kidneys in the stomach. So typically people have problems with like things like food allergies. You'll see darker circles underneath their eyes, or if they're very, very stressed and their kidneys and their adrenal glands are overwhelmed, you'll see dark circles under their eyes. Common in blood sugar problems. We'll often see like gallbladder is the reflex zone of the crow's feet. So people, yeah, the gallbladder, the number 11 wrinkles, you know, the ones that everyone has because they frown like this, that is the liver zone, right? Interesting how the liver zone is right on the third eye and right where the pituitary gland would be, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, if I ever when I used to drink alcohol, every single time I would wake up with a pimple right
People.
in that spot on the third eye. Yeah.
Interesting. Too much sugar. Yeah, your body couldn't handle it. And the pituitary gland is probably just like, take it up,
Yeah.
take it up. The body,
Yeah.
the system is so energetically inclined. To say that energy isn't part of our healing, it so is, because the rhythms of the body are this is not a new discovery in science. This is discovered
Right.
like back when. So it hasn't changed, right? Like we've been the same as the same reason I love like the paleo diet too, because you know, like the Paleolithic era was the longest era of humanity. And then, you know, our genetic code evolved along Paleolithic diet, right? So it's been longer that than anything. So it's the same kind of a thing. But the combination of wearing the liver pack and the sleep eye mask, it's that getting of that super deep sleep. Like people already with just doing the castor oil pack feel sleep improvement, but when they add in the eye mask, they feel even more sleep improvement. And this also protects patients because and your clients, because sometimes people get out of the habit or get lazy and don't always do their castor oil pack every single night because, you know, it's not normal routine. But the eye compress, they tend to do it every single night because it's just a lot easier, right? It's just like boom, put it on.
Yeah.
Right. The pack isn't hard either, but it's so much more normal, I guess, to just put it on an eye mask to go to bed. Right. So
I find that with my castor oil pack, it's really easy for me to remember to put on because when I change into my pajamas, I put it on because I have certain shirts that I wear because it kind of stains, you know, so I have old, comfy, big baggy bed shirts that have some castor oil stains on it. Who cares? And I put those on when I put the pack on when I change into my pajamas. So it's just a really easy, it's when you want to form a new habit, you need to stack it with something that you already do. So, you know, set it out right where you set out your pajamas and you're like, okay, I remember to put it on. So it just becomes a new habit.
I love it. I do it the same way too, right? Because it's like, to me, it's like such a valuable tool, right? Like, I mean, I'm not perfect. There's some nights that I don't do it, but I aim to do it as often as possible. And it literally just sits in my bathroom and I'm just, you know, but I most definitely never, like, I actually will not leave the house without my sleep eye compress because the level of difference in my sleep is so big. And the way that I look is huge too. It's very different. Like it significantly because castor oil can go deep into the dermis. It plumps up your skin, and your signs of aging really reduce. Like, it's pretty significant. Like, I'm always so amazed at how I look when I have done the castor oil eye mask and put the oil on it, or if I've forgotten to or not done the oil. I'm like, oh wow, it's such a big difference. So for, and that's a concern too, because as it's not only about the health of it, it's also about how we look and feel too, right? We want the whole package. So this is a great way. Castor oil is such a great natural way to get kind of the best of both worlds, and then get that deep restorative sleep that truly at the end of the day is the biggest healing agent that we can get, is great sleep. Because, I look at the history of medicine, and I look at Hippocrates, right? And he always used to say, let thy food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food, right? I love that saying. Do you love it too?
Yeah, yeah, love it.
I think in the industry. But what I realize is that, our food these days is a challenge, right? Like, it's, even if it is organic, there's still, like, it's not as clean as it used to be. But I think that Hippocrates would say, in this day and age, I think he would say this instead. I think he would say, let thy sleep be thy medicine, and that, and their medicine be thy sleep, because we truly do heal when we can shift ourselves into the relaxed state. And so many of us are so patterned from childhood traumas, in utero traumas. I mean, traumas, it could be a trauma that you don't even think is a trauma, but internally felt bad to you, and just you kept it with you, and that keeps you in a state of paralysis and not being able to move forward and achieve your dreams, because you can't get out of those traumatic processes, and you're constantly in a stress state. And so you just keep on getting more hormonally imbalanced, more anxiety, more sugar dysregulation, and then your life evolves into metabolic syndrome, and then into diabetes, and then it's downhill, right? Unless you are able to pause, shift it, change a practice, maybe put on a castor oil pack, get that good night's sleep, and then shift it backwards. It's such amazing stuff.
Absolutely. I love all that. And so to kind of sum up what I have taken in my notes here, how the castor oil pack, amongst the myriad of benefits it has, but some of the ways in that it impacts blood sugar and our metabolism. For I always like to circle it back to blood sugar, even though, overall health, we're all here, we want to feel good overall. So one of the things that you said is that it obviously supports our liver, which is one of the major organs of blood sugar regulation. So anything that supports the liver is going to help support our blood sugar and insulin sort of regulation, right? Then you mentioned that it's helpful for sleep, getting deeper sleep. And when I had the castor oil pack, I shared on Instagram, I shared my screenshots of my Aura ring and how I didn't have wake ups when I used it. So that was amazing. And we know that anything that's going to help sleep is going to help our blood sugar, because we've all had those nights where we had a terrible night's sleep, or we didn't sleep enough, and we woke up the next day and all we can do is eat. And it's like, give me sugar and coffee all day long. That's all you want. And that's because you become insulin resistant, even with just one night of poor sleep. And then you sort of compound that over time. When we're bad sleepers, we have this chronic blood sugar dysregulation that's impacting our sleep, amongst other things that can. And so then we're going to have this chronic sort of activation of the sympathetic nervous system, which you were talking about. And that chronic activation, like what you were talking about with these traumas, whether they're big T traumas, small T traumas, or just what you were talking about at the beginning with your story, how you're like, I like to be revved up. That's me. I like stimulants, like give me something to make me feel energetic. And I like to talk a lot. Like, I think we kind of elevate. I mean, we're on the same wavelength. Yeah. So, so anything that's calming it's understimulating for us, right? But being able to have something that supports that retraining, rebalancing of our nervous system is going to support our blood sugar, because I think that the most commonly underestimated cause of poor blood sugar regulation is stress. And so when we're chronically stressed, we don't even know it. This this can also be like chronic busyness. It's just like, oh, I'm busy, I have a lot to do. I'm not stressed out about it, but I got to go pick up the kids and I had to make a fruit salad for the barbecue. Like we have so much going on, right? And so that's not relaxed. That's not, oh, let's regulate and balance our hormones so we can have a nice cycle and maybe our body's thinking have a baby, or maybe we can form a beautiful, nice bowel movement and digest our food. But instead we're in this chronic fight or flight, and the body is pumping up our glucose because it thinks that we're stressed. It thinks that there's a tiger. And so it's liberating all this glucose into the system. So as you said, anything that's helping to retrain the nervous system, tap into that parasympathetic, we're going to be lowering our blood sugar levels or balancing them out. So did I miss anything? I know that was a ton.
The other little thing would be just that it supports the gallbladder and the lymphatic drainage, because that is choking the liver's ability to work, right? Like if the gallbladder is backed up, it's not dumping, well, then the liver is backed up too, right? And then people will have symptoms like hemorrhoids and different problems like that. Anything having to do with circulation and backing up of the lymphatic system or the gallbladder will congest the liver like crazy. And so the castor oil pack will release that as well too. And oxytocin, which is what helps with the retraining, and the retraining is key. This is the reason why it's not just like a one-time thing, like, thank you, ma'am. Like you can use it acutely if you've got like pain in your belly or IBS sensations. Like you can use it just acutely if you want, absolutely. But the real magic of the castor oil pack is the repetition of the usage, because it's that retraining. When you're an adrenaline junkie and like a cortisol junkie, because you've been trained like that since a child, and not that that's a bad thing, right? But what we're wanting to strive for, especially as we grow wise, is the balance between both. Having those moments of woo, excitement and amazingness, and then okay, calm. Because otherwise, you find so many people, their way of calming down is a glass of wine or a beer, which is just literally like putting more sugar and feeding the insulin resistance fire, right? Instead of just like learning how to like sit there, and maybe with a castor oil pack, you can get the same amount of boost of oxytocin and feel good hormones without having to go for that glass of wine, without having to go for that beer. And what's really interesting too is that, castor oil packs, because of the oxytocin boost, are even really beneficial in cases of eating disorders as well too, right? Because a big problem with eating disorders is low oxytocin, causing depression, anxiety, and there's an entire, obviously, aspect of sugar dysregulation in eating disorders as well too. So I've had countless reports of people with anorexia, bulimia, actually be able to re-regulate themselves with that. I was, at my chiropractors, and then speaking to a lady who was like, oh my God, you're the castor oil pack lady, my daughter. And she told me a whole story. And I'm like, oh, this is so nice to hear. Thank you. Because there's all these types of problems that are happening with our eating and our nourishment and our blood sugar and our hormones, and, across our society. And it's so wonderful to see people like yourself, Danielle, who are starting to change this for people and educating them to understand that you can take power back. You don't need to rely on so many outside substances to have your power. Like, yes, the castor oil pack is an outside substance, but truly it's meant to train your internal mechanisms to regain their balance. And then, some people don't after their healing process, don't wear the pack every single night because they don't have a need to as much anymore. It's not as necessary, right? Because their own body is doing it on their own, but they still maintain it for cleanses and regular cleanses, because we can't unfortunately get away from all the toxins in the environment. And we have a predisposition for our stress pathways to go off because we're so used to them.
Absolutely.
But great. Yeah, you summed it up completely. Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Yeah. And I like what you said about the gallbladder. So that's something I talk about a lot because I talk about digestion a lot. And I didn't realize the connection where it would back up the liver. That makes total sense because that's where the bile is made. So if it can't be released, it's going to be backing up. So anything that supports the liver is going to support the gallbladder to make thinner bile and to, like you said, to dump that bile, which is how bile gets recycled. So we want it to be recycling in our bodies so it doesn't get super thick and sluggish and then not be able to move through. And that is super important for blood sugar regulation because we need to be able to digest and absorb our fats if we want to keep our blood sugar regulated. So many people have so much trouble digesting fat, or they have no gallbladder, and it leads to high blood sugar and blood sugar dysregulation because they can't use the fats that they're eating to stabilize their blood sugar because they can't absorb them. So I love this as another gallbladder support. And that's, what I teach in my program, what I help my clients with is this full body approach to optimizing blood sugar regulation. And in my program, Blood Sugar Mastery in Module 7, we talk about the liver, and we have castor oil packs. I talk about it a lot in there, but I'm always recommending it before then. I'm like, God, I need to make this not week 7 because I need everyone to be doing this right away.
It's so funny you mentioned that, Danielle, because in my practice, it was actually the first thing I'd have patients do, at many even before they would come in to see me, and if they weren't able to do that before then they would do it definitely when they came in to see me, because the first visit was their prescription was a castor oil pack, a sleep mask, usually like just a simple probiotic, just to, get things kind of going. And sometimes something for like either melatonin or GABA, something to calm the nervous system. And it was just simple, really, really simple. But that castor oil pack and that eye mask was with everyone, because I wanted to just, number one, by the time they came back in a week or two for their physical exam, I wanted to see what happened with their body with just doing that. And sure enough, so many people were like, oh my God, I'm sleeping well. Sleeping well. Everyone always says that, game changer, sleeping better, going to the bathroom better. That's how everyone feels after it, right? The first night I already had a better sleep. Like, it's classic. Like, we see it in every single testimonial. It's like, wow, game changer, sleep better. Wow. like go to the bathroom better, feel less bloated. And so you see that every single time. And I loved it because for me, it was like, it cleaned up the stuff that was going on. So I could really get a good idea of what their picture was actually about and who they really were. And then, I could get them on the right journey or right away without wasting time and without excessive amounts of supplements that they probably didn't need or wouldn't even be absorbing, because, right. Yeah. If I do the castor oil pack at the beginning, well, then they're all absorbing there's the supplements better. They need less supplements and they need to take less of a dosage of the supplement and they can heal faster, and vice versa too, because when my patients would come back to me and be like, Dr. Marisol, when can I go off my supplements? I'd be like, well, have you been religious with your castor oil pack? And then, I would know because they'd have more symptoms and they'd be like, no. And I go, well, get back on the practice, because when you're on that practice, then you don't need as many supplements. So then of course, they get back on the practice, they get regular with it and religious. And then we'd be able to take off the supplements and then they'd be doing better. And then that was the way that we weaned people off of their supplements as well. Like, that's awesome. It is a wonderful tool in practice. Yeah. So
it is.
I work with it.
Yeah. And I love having these different tools because, like you mentioned earlier, health is not just your diet. It's not just like, which supplement can I take to fix all my problems? It's not just sleep. It's not just going to the gym. It's all of the things. And so when we have little practices in all these areas, we do our castor oil pack and we take our daily walk and we get outside in the morning and get our sunlight and we eat a healthy meals. And then we go to the gym and then we're, prioritizing our sleep. Like, all of a sudden you're doing things in all these areas and your health shifts in such big ways. So that's what I love to see, because people are just like, oh my goodness, I did not know I could feel so good. And that's what I love hearing. Or they'll just say, I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel so much better. It's like, yeah, because you were just feeling like shit, like you're just not feeling well.
And when you're in that, like you think it's normal, but that's the worst thing, right? Is that when you're in that, you think it's normal. And then finally, when you get like, a breath of fresh air, you start doing castor oil packs or getting good night's sleep with the castor oil eye compress. And then suddenly you're like, whoa, this is what I could be feeling like all the time, and sometimes, that's a kind of a good feedback mechanism that we have as humans, that, when we do fall off, because some of us do fall off, right? No one is perfect. When you fall off, then you have that feeling again that you're like, oh, I do not feel nearly as good as I felt when I was doing all my good little practices. And then you go back to it, right?
Which validates why you're doing them, right? Exactly. Sometimes it's good to have that reminder, like, oh, why do I have to do this every night? Tie this thing around me. It's like, oh, because it really helps. And then you're excited to do it. You're like, wow, it's an honor that I can do this. You feel grateful for the practice instead of like, why do I have to take a stupid walk after my meal? Like you're not resenting it. You're not like, why can't I have candy? It's like, I know why I'm doing these things or abstaining from these other things. And then you don't feel deprived. You just feel empowered.
100%. Yeah. Because it is, like we truly do have choice in our healthcare and choice in our lives to be and feel better. And it is literally dependent on the baby steps that we do every single day. And that's all. And it's literally like, I'm constantly checking into my mind and I'm like, okay, what's my best step for my best self now? Like every moment, right? I'm like, what's the best step for my best self now? Right? Like if I wanted to do that, will it? And sometimes I don't choose the best. Sometimes I don't, but the majority of time I do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I feel good and so much better. Like I feel better about to turn 44 than I did at 25. Like at 25, I felt like a train wreck. Right? Like I literally felt like a train wreck. I was losing hair. I had mustache. I had chin hair. It was just like now, like now I allow my eyebrows to naturally grow in because I'm so proud that, I didn't even have lateral eyebrows because my thyroid was off when I was, dealing with PCOS and, like what a change to be able to take that power back. Right. Cause life I find ultimately is just us always working to grow and be better, and it's an exchange of power, and we can either give our power away to substances and give our power away to other people, or we could take back our power and realize that our throne is ours to own. And
Love
it just
that.
depends if you want to step on there and sit on it and take it on.
I love this, Dr. Marisol. So where can people find you? Where can they get a castor oil pack?
Awesome. So they can find us on Instagram at Queen of the Thrones. If they want to find me personally, I have my own account, which is at Cell Health Well. So you can come follow me there if you like. It's more practitioner based. So if you're a practitioner or an influencer, I'm really there teaching about the principles so that you can share them. Of course, online at our website at queenofthethrones.com as well too.
Awesome.
And I know you love sharing with people about the castor oil pack so they can find them through you.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to link all of that in the show notes, as well as a discount code for the castor oil stuff, because I know you're like, okay, where can I get this? Sign me up. I want to pour it all over my body so my hair can grow in, I could sleep. So I am like a daily user of this stuff. So I love to reach out to people where brands that I love the products. I was not approached by you. It was the other way around. I'm like, how can I love this stuff. It's so effective. I need to learn more. I need to bring this to my people. I need to bring them the why. And so I love when brands and, your company and like all the information that you share, I think it's so valuable to the people it's a beautiful marriage of the communities.
And even greater still, like it's like our goal now as a company is to continue to bring like the very best quality, because again, being in this industry for a long time, I see that there's a lot of things that aren't that great of quality. So not necessarily within supplements, but what we're looking at is all the lifestyle tools, because I'm a big fan. Dry brushes, I love the rituals and the routines that we can do for self-care, because I don't always want to just take another supplement. I want to reset and rebalance and regain my throne.
Love it. Love it. Oh, thank you so much for being here with us. It was fabulous.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye.